أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد بن محمد يا أخواني وأخواتي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of Allah be upon you inshallah. So Sunan, Kalijaga International Journal of Islamic Civilization, volume 4, number 1, year 2021, page 1 to 21. So the interesting article's name, Trading the Footsteps of Wali Songo as the Shaper of Islam Nusantara tradition. So the specific tradition of Indonesia as a world archipelago. So point C, definition of Islam Nusantara. So Islam is the religion of Islam, and of course Nusantara is an Indonesian word for archipelago. Donc, in French, archipel. Definition of Islam Nusantara. Based on the explanation above, so this is an article made by Siti Muliana and Muhammad Nasruddin, for the author of this particular article. C. Definition of Islam Nusantara. Based on the explanation above, it can be seen that the process of Islamization in Indonesia did not occur in a short time, but took a long time. This can be seen since the discovery of the Barus village, which is the point of settlement of the first Muslim settlers during the 7th century AD. A Muslim community of the west coast of Sumatra in 674 AD, until the emergence of Islamic kingdoms starting in the 13th century AD. So we have a span of 600 years, beginning with settlements of Arabs, Muslims in the region, traders, etc., which installed themselves in the Sumatra island and had family here, so settlement to long term, until the 13th century AD with the birth of Islamic kingdoms in Indonesia. So a switch of religion. Even in Mahuan records, so this is a Chinese chronic, in 1433 AD, Islam was not widely accepted by the natives. On his way, he encountered, so Mahuan is an individual who recorded a chronic. On his way, he encountered 3 groups of people who occupied the north coast of Java. First, all ethnic Chinese. So some Chinese which were Muslim. So full-blooded Chinese practicing Islam. So by conversion and transmission from their parent. Second, Arabs and Persians who are also Muslims. So the first kind of Muslims he encountered were full-blooded Chinese. The second part were Arabs and Persians, Muslims. Third, the indigenous people with their animistic belief and dynamism. So at first, Muslims that Mahuan encountered in 1433 AD were mostly Chinese Muslims and Arab and Persian Muslims, and the people stick to their belief. Indigenous people. It is undeniable that for approximately 800 years, the process of Islamization has not been widely accepted by indigenous people. So you can see the book Gerakan Islam Nusantara, page 236, 238, from Nur Khaliq Redwan. The massive spread of Islam during the Wali Songo period could not be separated from the influence of the methods and approaches used. In fact, the Wali Songo, we're gonna see with reading, were tactician in their approach to propagation of the new faith of Islam and made some adjustment. The da'wah strategy that puts forward educational cultural patterns. So they observed the cultural dynamic of the population, not confrontational radicals, as has happened in the Middle East, make Islam easier for indigenous people to accept. So it was a propagation by peace, by adapting, by respecting the cultural background of the people of Indonesia. And I don't think it will be propagated with another level than that, because people from Islander are really prone to rejection and to protectionism, and have strong tribal ability to defend and expulse the stranger from an island, for example. So you have to gain trust and be trustful and be just in your way of dealing with them. So there is an article in Islam Nusantara dari Indonesia untuk peradaban dunia dalam ontology. So dalam is inside, and in Penchak Silat, for example, you have luar and dalam, so external, internal for the technique. It is the equivalent of zahir and batin, dalam, batin, internal. Islam, which was indigenized with local culture, later becomes a forerunner to the emergence of the idea of Islam Nusantara, which is a local adaptation of Islam in respect with the background cultural substract, which has recently drawn pros and cons in a number of levels of society. Pipin Armeta said that this idea was popularized by Professor Dr. K.H. Saeed Aqil Siraj on June 14, 2015, when opening the Istirosa event at the Istiqlal Mosque in Jakarta. This is a big mosque in Jakarta. K. Said emphasized that the term Islam Nusantara refers to the historical traces of Islam, which was spread peacefully without coercion or violence, but with a cultural approach. And it was a key move. So in the same source, Islam Nusantara dari Indonesia untuk peradaban dunia, in page 359. However, because this idea was initiated by the Nahdatul Ulama mass organization as the largest Islamic organization in Indonesia. Then there was an assumption that assumed that the term Islam Nusantara was a product of the Nahdatul Ulama, thus creating a stigma for other group. But it was, in fact, a verified, historical, accepted fact. Therefore, a complete and comprehensive study is needed regarding the meaning of Nusantara Islam so that the unification of community understanding can be achieved so as to create a peaceful life even though it is in the midst of diversity. The phrase Islam Nusantara is a combination of the word Islam and Nusantara. At a glance, the phrase gives a double meaning. It's a combination of words, an arrangement. Na'at manaut nature, so that it has the meaning of Islam, that is Nusantara. Or is an idafa, structure, designation of place. So that it shows the meaning of Islam in the archipelago, literally. So this is some grammatical understanding of the combination Islam Nusantara that can embody two aspects and two understanding with the same word combination. As you Mardi Azra called Islam Nusantara with the term distinctive Islam, as a result of the contact between universal Islam and sociocultural condition in a society. Islam Nusantara is a form of practice of Islamic teaching which is contextualized with the understanding of Indonesian society, which is influenced by urf, culture, and social reality. Meanwhile, the Jama'a Nahdliyin Mataram, in its book, The Islamic Cultural Movement of the Archipelago, places the phrase Islam Nusantara in the form of an adjective which means attribution, so that there will be an Islamic meaning that has the character and pattern of the archipelago that accommodates culture and tradition but still stands on the essence of Islam itself. This is reiterated by Teuku Kamal Fasia, that the addition of the word Nusantara is an adjective explanation that shows the difference between the quality of Islam in the archipelago and Islam elsewhere. And it is quite understandable. Islam as a religion that is faithful and easily accepted by the Indonesian people is none other than because of its acculturation, adaptation, and resilience with local culture. So this is extract of the book Strengthening Nusantara Islam for Progressive Islam from Saif al-Mustafa. Actually, the term Islam Nusantara is not a term that refers to a new madhab, a new group, so a new school of thought in the realm of Islam, a new group or a new religion. Ahmad Sahal stated that to understand Nusantara Islam, one must believe in the existence of overlapping religious and cultural dimensions each other. These two aspects cannot be separated. So there is an overlap between the substract, which was Hindu-Buddhist, and which were also foreign religion at a stage or another, and the actualization by Islam. So there is stratification of development, adaptation, and redirection of some customs, energy, interests, etc., proper to the teaching of Islam, like it was the case in the time of Hinduism, which came from India, or in the time of Buddhism, which also came from India, but developed more in the southeast than in India itself, and even to the far east, including Japan, with the tradition of Zen, for example, which is derived from Buddhism. So, these two aspects cannot be separated, seeing that Islam is not a rigid and closed religion. In its journey, Islam will always be in contact with the culture of the local community, so as to produce characters that differ from one region to another. The formality of Islam in the Middle East is certainly different from Islam in Indonesia, but the essence remains the same. This happened because each region has a variety of cultures that develop in it. In this case, Nurkolis Majid makes an example of the sarong object, which is usually worn by Indonesian for the purpose of covering the genitals. Normatively, the sarong is a symbol of Islam, but is only limited to the scope of Indonesia, because this is the only part where it is used and where it originates also. And in other part, some Muslim countries use long qamis, some other use sarwal, which is like the equivalent of large pantalon and stuff like that. Wherein in a broader realm, there are a distinction in covering the genitals, such as the use of the robe in Arabia, so a thawb, sarwal in India. Also, the word sarwal is used in Arabic also, and pantalon in Western country. But this is some example. It is not an exaggeration to say that the sarong is one of the characteristics of Islam Nusantara. And it is true. It is widely used. It is practical. Also, this is a very hot climate. So sometimes people prefer wear some other things and cover themselves with sarong. It is efficient to have a clean sarong rather than daily used pants to make prayer, stuff like that. So they change themselves and they put the sarong and they make their prayer with it. أهلا. So in the rules of Usul al-Fiqh, so Usul al-Fiqh are the sources of jurisprudence. It has been explained that al-ada al-muhakkama, which has the meaning of the custom or habit, can be used as a source of Islamic law, provided that it does not conflict with Islamic principles. So it is from Usul al-Fiqh, and I can sense from this particular use of terms that this is from al-Shafi'i. So al-Imam al-Shafi'i, which is the most recognized school of Indonesia. So they are on the madhab al-Shafi'i. So it is interesting to note. So al-Shafi'i have a very, it's like the father of Usul al-Fiqh. For those who don't know, I use in jurisprudence, I'm a Ja'fari in jurisprudence, so I'm a Shi'i Ithna Ashari, and I use the Akhbari methodology which differ from, which is closer to the methodology of Zahiriya, so the school of in Sunni Islam, the school of Ibn Arabi, and the school of also schools that cannot make use of ijma and also al-qiyas. So this is two important thing. And in the Shia domination, you have also what is called al-usuliyya. And usuliyya are closer to the Shafi'i madhab. In fact, al-usuliyya use heavily principles developed from the Shafi'i school. And this is also because in my region of origin, paternal region of origin, it was close from the country of origin of Shafi'i, which was Palestine. So I'm from southern Lebanese الحدود مع فلسطين المحتلة. So there is a strong Shafi'i tradition in Palestine and in Egypt also, after the time of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, which was also a governor prior to his rise of southern Lebanon, of more the area of Baalbek. He was a commandant, a governor of Baalbek. And Salahuddin al-Ayyubi is a Kurd from origin. He's not even an Arab. And so from this time, there is a rise in the region of Misr of Shafi'i madhab, and also in Indonesia. That's why they can use al-ada al-muhakkama, which is in fact a custom habit that can be used as a source of Islamic law, provided that it does not conflict with Islamic principles. And it's derived from this orientation of jurisprudence, which is the Shafi'i jurisprudence, which has sophisticated tools in the area of usul al-fiqh. So tools, principles of jurisprudence to deriving Islamic law, Sharia. Therefore, Wali Songo also took a locality-based da'wah strategy. So a strategy for their Islamic propagation. Traditions that do not conflict with Islamic Sharia are maintained. So it is different. So in the Shafi'i madhab, non-conflicting habits can become sources of Islamic laws, and with the view of the Wali Songo, which were primarily maybe from a mix of Maliki and Shafi'i, it was less evident. There is a lot of people of Shadliya. For those who don't know, from my maternal family, the professor of Ahmed Shadli was one of my ancestors, was Abd Salam bin Mashish al-Hassani, which was Sayyid Hassani, descendant of Idris al-Awwal, and also a teacher of Ahmed Shadli, which was also a Sayyid Hassani, but from two different families. So the approach of the Wali Songo is not to take traditions that do not conflict with Islam as source of law, Islamic law, but just maintain them. And this is a more correct approach than the use of the Shafi'i principle of al-'ada al-muhakkama. So traditions that does not conflict with Islamic Sharia are maintained, while traditions that do not conform are not immediately removed, but are instead inserted with Islamic values. So interesting approach. The acculturation between local tradition and Islam then produces various local wisdoms that are characteristic of Nusantara Islam. So when you adapt things, you Islamize something that are not Islamic by essence but present in a particular tradition, that Islam become a personal interpretation and have some aspect not found anywhere else. So it is a particular kind of Islam, and it can be interesting too. So the acculturation between local traditions and Islam then produce various local wisdoms that are characteristic of Nusantara Islam. This can be found in various mosque buildings in the archipelago, such as the Great Mosque of Quddus, with a K. In fact, it's Quddus, which was one of the Wali Songo from, if I'm not mistaken, the Great Mosque of Demak, as well as various other architectures that illustrate the combination of two different cultures. In retrospect, the actual acculturation of Islam with local culture is not a new phenomenon. The practice of religious rituals such as istiqa, prayer, tawaf, and so on is an Arab tradition that has developed since the Prophet Muhammad had not delivered the message of Islam. So there is Arabic tradition of the Jahiliyyah, which became part of Islam. Also, Zamzam was sacred before Islam. Also, Kaaba existed before Islam, and many stuff. And also, Ibrahim Khalilullah alayhi salam was designated as Muslim Hanif. So there is a link, there is an emergence of Islam as a complete religion, but there is also some glimpses of Islam before its incarnation in the mission, materialization in the mission of Prophet Muhammad and the delivery of his risala, his message. Furthermore, the marriage between two different cultures gave rise to an Islamic civilization with an archipelago pattern that was accommodating, tolerant, relaxed, and welcome to diversity. The Nukuris Majid, or Wu, is often called Kak Nur, emphasized that a civilization or human thoughts would be even stronger if it had three values covering roots in tradition, originality, and relevance. So there is three key points from this Kak Nur, which was Nurkolis Majid, who stated that a civilization or human thoughts would be even stronger if he has three conditions. So values covering roots in tradition, so firm on its basis, originality, and relevance, so adaptability to time also. Make a creed stronger. Islam Nusantara is an idea to realize Islam that is rahmatan lil alamin. So Islam has a benevolence to the world. Walking in the footsteps of Wali Songo, who spread Islam with full wisdom, reflects that a socio-cultural based Nusantara Islam can establish peace as a manifestation of Rahmatan lil Alamin itself. So it is Warisan from the book Warisan Islam Nusantara from Zakiya Darajat Al-Turats, volume 21, number 1, January 2015, page 7884. So this is the end of this part. It was part C, and there is another part beginning. So here we have so my lecture is finished. So we have here, I will take my phone because I have to look a little bit closer, but I suspect I understood the maneuver of Antonio da Costa. So Antonio da Costa made a gift for Baba, I think, with 3 points of explanation. And so he quoted a hadith regarding what he perceived, and this is typical Western way of doing, what he perceives as racism in the field of Islam. The problem is I don't have problem with racism in Islam. Each community has his own understanding. If the Prophet, so the hadith is from Sahih Muslim, number 1602. So, and also maybe the hadith 6249. So the Prophet bought one white slave and exchanged two white slave, two black slave. So two black slaves have the value of one white slave. And so there is also he quote also a verse of Al-Quran which state that in the Surat 34, sorry, in the verse 34 of the Surat number 4, men have an authorization of slapping their wife. And so he amazed himself, stating this is a beautiful religion. I will be clear. I have no problem with the content, with this content. I have no problem. In fact, the fact of corporal punishment exists for man. It's different from women. The obligation for man to woman are also different. So men have to pay money for marrying, women not. Women have to obey their husband when he fulfill their income in living and stuff like that. So there is some authority of the woman on the man and the man on the woman. And this is not the end of the world. This is not total equality. This is complementary. That's all. That's why even in testimonies, sometimes the value of the testimony of a woman is not the same as the testimony of a man. Also, women have menstrual cycles men don't have. Women give birth to children, men not. Men can marry 4 women, maybe more. Women cannot. And what? It is Islam. It is the beauty of Islam. In Islam, there is different in the given sex by God. Some easiness, some harshness to all sex. And so there is specific obligation for man, specific obligation for woman. And women and men are complementary in Islam. They are not exactly the same, like the illusion of the Western world, for example, which states that women and men are the same, which states that is no racism don't exist in this society, but it's blatant, it's hypocritical. And in Islam, we have also a tradition of certain ethnicities cursed. And it exists. It's a part. We have also some Arab tribe that were removed from earth by divine punishment and stuff like that. We have all this kind of literature in Islam, and we accept it. We don't deny it. So alhamdulillah. And we accept our religion, and our religion will last the test of time, and will be, God willing, well spread, well over artists will left this world with a bitter taste in their mouth. And this is it. So nothing new, nothing revolutionary. Also, not to mention that Antonio da Costa have a Portuguese or Spanish name, I don't know, maybe Portuguese, and that many exactions were made by the sword, by the Christian, in terms of colonization, in terms of genocide, on all places in earth. So the Westerners are linked, even in metaphysical aspect, to the element of fire, because most of them will be in fire in the hereafter, and most of them had this bad energy and bad sentiment for the mankind in general. That's why they used atomic strike and stuff like that. That's why they are at ease with genocide, even in 225. They have no problem with that, because they are like that by design. They use technology to destroy humanity, because they can excel only at it. They had no great discoveries during the Middle Age. Nothing. They borrowed things from the East, from Middle East, from extreme East, and they built their civilization from that, from scratch. They learned to wash themselves from Middle East at a very late stage in humanity. So they cannot be trusted. They cannot be taken seriously. They are still like their ancestor. They only watch from maybe 500 years, less than 1 millenary. So they still are disgusting, and their hatred toward Abrahamic heritage, maybe it Christian or Jew, because they are the most evil anti-Semite on the face of earth, it materializes now with the Muslim. and it's not a big deal. To every people on this earth, there is an end. So you can think that you are the center of the world for this quick passage on earth, but you will be removed and you will be replaced, and nobody will take in high esteem your materialistic philosophy. So even the generation after you, God willing, will rebuke your heritage. And by the way, in the Western way of thinking, there is no respect for the elders too. That's why they put you will finish in the house from 4 elders alone with a batch of medicine for your mouth and your hemorrhoid crisis. So this is the end of this video. اللهم صل على محمد والمحمد. التمس الدعاء. الله معكم. إلى اللقاء. مع السلامة. One more thing. I will remove this bad blood from this channel. Up. So it's done. I removed this guy. مع السلامة.